There's a saying by someone who is not Aristotle, which says you are what you repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Good or bad, behaviors are what make us, well, us. A lot of people's success and problems can all be traced back to the actions that they repeat daily. Motivation, inspiration, dedication. All of these things pale in comparison to the most crucial aspect of success, and that is habits. Habits are the fundamental pillar on which goals are achieved. Change your habits, and you'll change your life. Today we are looking at James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's hard to exaggerate just how profound this book is if you don't just read it, but actually try to implement what's in the pages. Okay, let's start with the law of 1%. 1% improvements don't seem like much. If you had the goal of being a really good football freestyler, you might start by maybe balancing on one foot so that you can strengthen your leg, and then you might change the type of shoes you're wearing so that you get more grip on the ball. Before you know it, you're doing around the worlds like crazy and looking like Ronaldinho from 2008. But it all starts with incremental improvements, which on their own don't look like much, but compounded over time can make you look like a bloody genius. Okay, now that's all well and good in theory, but how do we actually get into the habit of making 1% improvements? And why do so many of us fail to achieve the success that we dream of? Well, according to Clear, a lot of us tend to focus on our end result rather than the system that we have in place. For example, if you're trying to get shredded and look like a bodybuilder, you'll probably train with that end result in your mind. After a couple of weeks or even months of training, you might not see the progress that you thought you would see. And because of this, you might just end up quitting. This is because you're using the end result as your measurement of success. And sometimes that's a problem. Instead, try and focus on your system. So, for example, are you eating the right kinds of foods? Are you going to the gym enough, or are you training in the right way? Focusing and improving on your system will eventually lead you to your end result. So it might be better sometimes to focus on your system rather than constantly obsessing over the end result. Okay, now that we've cleared that up, get it? Because he's named James Clear? Yeah. Don't worry. So how can we put ourselves in a position to make our habits stick and get rid of bad ones that we don't want to be continuing? Okay, there are 4 laws of habit formation. 1, make it obvious. The reality is you're probably not going to play the guitar if it's hidden in the closet, and conversely, you probably will scull that bottle of wine if it's sitting on the kitchen bench. Try and place things in your immediate vicinity so you're constantly walking past them or looking at them, and you'll be far more likely to actually engage with them. On the other hand, if you want to kick a habit like social media or something, delete the apps off your phone so that you're not constantly looking at them and they're hidden and it's harder for you to actually engage with that activity. Number 2, make it attractive. If your goal is to get fit or healthy or just to exercise more, you'll want to do something that you actually enjoy. There's no point going to the gym and lifting heaps of weights if you hate doing it. There's heaps of ways to get fit. You could dance, you could... Okay, there's not... Off my head, there's not a lot, but I'm sure that another component of the attractive law is the idea that the people you tend to hang around with make things more attractive. So for example, if all your friends are smoking, you'll probably think it's attractive to smoke. Now that doesn't mean you have to get rid of all your friends, because if you did, you'd probably be a loser and hate yourself like me. So I recommend maybe just distancing yourself sometimes, or just being aware that you may find it more attractive because they're doing it. And just having that little mental note might help you be a little bit more resilient when you're faced with that option of giving in or not. Number 3, make it easy. If you're trying to learn a new language, start by learning 1 word a day. Then the next day, learn another word. And then the next day, another one. And then the next day, that's right, you guessed it, kill yourself, because if that's your way of learning a new language, you'll probably be dead by the time you master it anyway. The point that I'm trying to make is that when you try to learn something, by making it easy initially and mastering the art of showing up, as James Clear calls it, you increase the chances of you actually holding on to that habit and really making it stick. And once you've done that, you can put in the longer hours and more effort to actually master whatever it is that you're trying to do. But again, that all comes from showing up and starting easy and getting a grasp of the habit and really making it your own. Number 4, make it satisfying. Actions that are rewarded are more likely to be performed again, and actions that are punished less likely. But you guys already knew that. That's just classic BF. Anyway, you can help yourself by giving yourself a reward when you actually complete something that you've been trying to achieve. But just be careful that your reward doesn't cause detrimental effects to the habit that you're trying to create. Okay, that was a really bad way to say it. What I'm trying to say is make sure that the reward that you give yourself doesn't go against the habit that you're trying to form in the first place. For example, if you're trying to be healthier and exercise more, don't choose a reward as like eating a pizza or a whole bunch of cake or, you know, I don't know what you guys are into. Anyway, it might be more beneficial if you buy yourself some new running shoes or join a club or do something that makes you happy, but at the end of the day, it's not going to harm the progress that you've already made. A few other quick points that I want to make that I read in the book that I found very, very helpful were the idea that identity and habits are linked. In a way, changing habits means changing your identity. So if you feel like you're a smoker and you want to stop, it can help to rather say, I'm trying to quit smoking, tell yourself and tell other people, I'm not a smoker. Now, obviously that's not gonna work miracles, but just having that mindset can be a little step in the right direction to kicking the bad habit. Secondly, don't miss twice. A lot of people, they have a habit, they're making progress, they stuff up once, they feel miserable, they hate themselves, and then they decide, well, stuff it. I'm just gonna muck up for the rest of the week because who cares? I've already stuffed up. That is a really, really bad way to think, and I know it's very, very difficult, but the best athletes, the best performers, the most successful people are more defined by how they got up after facing a setback rather than just not having setbacks at all. So just remember, there will be problems. There will be days when it sucks, when you stuff up or do the wrong thing, and that's fine. But what matters is that when that happens, you realize what you did wrong, and immediately after that, you get right back into it. Start doing the right thing again. Okay, now I have to be honest, there wasn't really anything that I didn't like about this book. It's written in a way that's really motivating and it makes you want to try out what's in the book, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of guidance and support and practical advice, so you don't feel like it's just giving you information and then you're stuck with what to do with it. It definitely doesn't seem like a self-help book that's just made to sell copies and doesn't really change your life at all. In my personal opinion, I also found that it was the perfect blend of narrative and practical advice. So many self-help books are just filled with stories about nonsense and things that don't really matter, and they just go from here to here and they ziggle everywhere. I don't even know if ziggle's a word, but there you go. That's mainly what it's like. Again, personally, I like it when people tell me what to do, why I should do it, and how I should do it. But this book mixes all of those with a personal narrative really, really well, and I found myself really enjoying the stories that he put in the book. This book mixes neuroscience and psychology and has a scientific basis for many of the claims that it makes. Look, I gotta say, I just really fucking enjoyed this book. There are many other really important lessons and practical advice that I couldn't squeeze into this video. Go out there, get the book. I truly believe that if used properly, this book can transform your life. I'll see you guys next week. Catch.